everybody. Welcome to Rough Stuff, where we invite our comedian friends to come on and tell stories about their childhood. I am one of your co-hosts, Bridgett Greenberg, and the first CD I ever bought was a Three Doors Down CD.
And I am Sarah Griffith, your other co-host, and ABBA is genuinely one of my top 3 favorite bands.
And with us is some guy we saw on the street. He says his name is Soren Bowie. Soren.
Hi, I'm Soren Bowie, and I played with action figures until I could drive.
Oh, that's fun. What does that mean? What is
playing?
I want to, before we dive in, I need to unpack that.
Yeah, going on adventures around the house, going, the good guys starting a fort.
Picking them up and flying them around?
Well, I mean, the ones that could fly, obviously, but the ones that couldn't fly, no, that's silly.
No,
of course, they climbed or jumped or ran, whatever their mode of transportation was, and they would go into the bad guy base and they would beat up the bad guys generally, or they'd meet on some agreed upon battlefield and fight.
Sure.
That is strange, but I feel like we were two of the few people correct who weren't comic book.
Yeah.
People.
So that's the craziest part is that these are like X-Men toys.
Right.
And I was not an X-Men fan. I just liked the articulation of the toys.
So did you know like what mutant had which powers?
Nope.
Or were you just kind of like
no,
making
I didn't
them
even
up?
know who were the good guys and the bad guys.
Oh no.
It was all decided in my own spectacular imagination.
Have you ever like checked that score of how close you were to? Because I would love to know what you thought the mutant powers were of these characters.
Well, I had a Deadpool toy at the time, long before Deadpool was cool. But I didn't know that he had like regenerative powers. It would have changed the game a lot for a lot of the adventures that he went on.
Yes.
The way that I play with him was he was basically a Snake Eyes type character from G.I. Joe, where he was just an elusive ninja.
Okay.
And he could pop out of nowhere. You never knew. He could walk across water occasionally, if you're like run across water like a martial arts expert, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Did you just like have these from childhood, or would you buy new ones?
Bought new ones. Yeah.
Okay, to be completely fair, before you can drive, how does a young person spend their time honestly? Because like if you're just at home, because now it's like if I'm bored, it's like maybe I'll check out a movie, or like maybe I'm also like an adult, so like maybe I'll also drink. But for like 14, 15 years old, and you're like, I gotta ask my parents to drive me someplace, or I have to find a way to entertain myself at home.
Yeah.
I'll give you some credit.
So that's very nice of you. That's very kind of you. I grew up in a log cabin in the middle of the woods.
Really?
Yes. So I'm going to use that as my excuse from now on.
You're welcome.
It was very hard to get anywhere before I could drive. If I wanted to go see friends or anything in town, it was like a real endeavor. I had to get my parents to drive me to town.
Oh my God.
And then let me stay there for a while and then orchestrate when they would pick me up and take me home. So I couldn't go anywhere. We get snowed in occasionally. But I can remember being in my basement playing, and there was a basement door. I liked the basement because there's two doors in between, yeah. And I knew that as soon as like the upstairs door opened, you could hear it on the hinges, and I was like, I'd move everything out of the way so I wouldn't be caught playing with toys.
Right.
by
my
your
parents.
You were that ashamed.
That ashamed of what I was doing. Yeah.
Wow. That is like the 180 opposite of how I grew up. So this is like blowing. Did you get a hardship license, or were you like 16 like everyone else?
I was 16. I didn't have to. So it wasn't like a ranch or anything that I grew up on. So I wasn't driving tractors and stuff.
I mean, I would still consider hardship is you have to drive into town.
And so, I waited till I was 16. But I learned, my dad came and got me when I was 15 from school one day in a blizzard. And was like, we're going up to Spring Gulch, which is like where the cross-country ski area was. And he's like, we're going up there and we're learning to drive. And so I went up there in this 86 Toyota with a stick in the floor and learned on a manual stick in a blizzard how to drive.
That is, they say you like should learn how to drive on a truck or something hard to drive, but on ice is I still don't know how to drive.
I was just going to say, I still don't.
I can't drive in the snow.
If there's like, when I went to school, it'd be like, oh yeah, there's like a couple inches out there. I'd be like, can somebody like drive me to CVS so I can get like literally like such a princess of that? Because like I never grew. I could like drive through floodwaters. Yeah. No problem. Hurricane. I've driven through a tornado, whatever. But there's something about snow that's like, I cannot go outside anymore because I'm freezing. It's like I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You've especially on the old site, were known as like the '80s bully popular boy type. And now I want to hear from you. What was a young pre-teenage Soren like?
Yeah.
Because clearly, I mean, you started off, you're a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, you're a freak.
It's not the image that had been carefully crafted.
No, certainly not. Yeah, I was in high school. I went to a school that was 30 kids in my class, and there was it was very outdoor oriented. Like you were on a ski team, a snowboard team,
Right.
Or a rock climbing team, kayaking team, and all the people that I graduated with went on to be sponsored.
Like skiers, snowboarders.
Yeah, they were in the X Games. They did all that kind of stuff. But I participated in all that stuff.
Right.
But I wasn't good at it. I wasn't like the best at it.
You could do it.
Yes. Yeah, I could pass.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really room to be a bully in a school that big.
No, then you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just being a jerk.
Right.
Which is what bullying is, but like...
And when we were occasionally, obviously we were young, so we were occasionally jerks. There was a thing called ditching at my school, which there was an irrigation ditch that ran throughout the entire campus.
Oh my God.
And you would grab someone and throw them in the ditch.
Oh my
Okay, ditching at other schools means just like not going to class. like for other people, that just means like screwing off for the afternoon.
Our ditch day meant everybody look out and bring an extra change
It sounds
of
like
clothes
everybody at your
'cause you're
school
going
is
to
like
ditch.
was like a triathlete. Like you're talking about like all the teams. That's an Ironman, if I'm not mistaken.
So everybody who went to school there was so much opportunity to be a snow sport professional.
Oh my God.
That wasn't me.
Was that school designed for that?
No.
It
so
just
it also
happened to
has
be that
excellent
way?
academics too.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So it was designed to be like Putney in Vermont. If you're familiar with that.
I know that. Yeah.
It's very similar to Putney.
Oh, so it's like okay.
And there's
It's fancy
there's a
school.
working element to it as
Right.
well. There's a ranch there, so if you're on ranch crew, you're burning ditches and you're delivering cattle.
Yeah,
and
you're
stuff like
burning
Ranch
ditches for people to get thrown into.
that. Yeah, burning the ditches before you throw people in. That's right.
Okay, Soren, you've just said like so many things. My mind is blown. This sounds like a school that like I would read about in like a young adult novel when I was in elementary school and be like, God, I wish I was going to this school instead of my boring city school.
I didn't realize at the time because your scope is only as big as the place
Sure,
that you are. But now having left and moved on, I'm really amazed by the things that they would have us do. We would lead trips. I mean, I would lead outdoor trips when I was a senior. Like we'd lead the younger kids on trips, and take them into the outdoors. And like you're only relying on a topography map because when you get up to the above timberline, like there's no trails or anything.
Oh my God.
And they just trusted us to do that. And I think on the very first one, when this school was founded, one of the very first trips, a kid was killed by an ice fall. They were walking under, I don't know what it was. It was like a frozen waterfall or whatever, but a huge chunk of ice fell off and killed a child. And then they were still like, we're still going to keep doing this and be our school and
That's
everything.
insane that they were allowed to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Or was that one of those urban myths that like floats around schools?
Yeah, maybe. It's not hard to spread a rumor in
wait,
our school.
No. Maybe.
Well,
Maybe somebody died on one of your excursions in high school, or maybe it's a rumor.
well, here's
That sounds like an urban myth kind of thing.
Hey, Bridget, can you do me a favor and just take this one? Because I'm speechless. Like, what I'm hearing is mind-blowing to
the
me.
very first trip I went on at this school is called Wilderness, and it's a 10-day trip. The first 3 days you're
It's just called wilderness.
your first 3 days you're doing some Forest Service project out in the wilderness. Like you're elevating a trail so it doesn't get all boggy and like wet in the spring.
Of course, obviously.
or you're doing some other project for the Forest Service, and then the next 7 days you have a route on a topography map. You're going to go from here, you're going to go over this pass, and then you're going to go and you're going to end up down here, and then a bus will come get you. So you have kind of like your route mapped out. On this trip, and part of the trip is a solo where you're alone for 24 hours without food or anything.
Perfect. That's good. That's good. We should all do this more often. Just alone and go into the woods.
Wait,
no food
how
and
old
water.
were you? You were
I was
fresh.
14.
You were 14.
Yeah, and I had a pack that weighed as much as I did.
Right. It's a real my side of the mountain kind of hatchet journey for you.
And you don't.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
exactly.
Exactly.
And you don't bring tents. You sleep under a tarp. So you set up a tarp wherever you go.
Yeah. You make
And then
your
everybody
shelter.
kind of crowds in under. You got 3 people to a tarp or whatever. And my first trip, my first wilderness, I went out and there was a French teacher on the trip who
That's helpful.
we were trying to climb a peak. He got agoraphobia, I think, which is fear of heights. Is that what it is? Acrophobia? I don't know. But anyway, he got fear of heights and went down early, but broke his leg on the way down and fractured his ankle. So it was a compound fracture, so the bone was sticking out of his ankle. And so it was like we were out in the middle of nowhere, and they chose 3 of us to hike out and go get help. And so
don't worry, we have a crew of 14-year-olds to save you.
Okay. One of us was 15 at the time.
Okay. Bridget, relax.
And
please.
so
An adult was with them.
Yeah. So we hiked out like 11 miles. We hiked out in a day, like kind of running out. And they slept on the side of this mountain that night. And we were further out than we thought we were, and we weren't in the same part of the map that we had thought we were. And so it took much longer than they thought. So at that point, they thought maybe we were dead because no help was coming. And an entire
three
night.
more 14-year-olds.
Yeah, so an entire night had gone by. Yeah. And then the next day, a helicopter. We got to the trailhead. We waited and waited, and eventually a cop came by, which was very lucky. And he took us to the police station. We slept on the floor of the town hall, and they sent up a helicopter the next day. And they found him and got him and took him out. And then everybody else hiked out after that.
And was that like a big deal in the school? Or was
I was just about to say something similar happened to my friend where he was a Boy Scout, a candidate to become an Eagle Scout. Same situation. The scout leader had a group, broke his leg. He then organized the rest of the kids to take him down, and he became an Eagle Scout from that. So where is the plaque for this? Or
it was a fun story to tell afterwards. When we got to school finally, we could tell people about it. They were like, yeah. But no, people lost interest in that after a little while, and other stuff would happen on trips.
And the French teacher never forgave anyone.
We didn't ever see him at his worst. We saw the bone in his leg, and we saw the other teacher moved his ankle in such a way that the bone slid back in, because you have to. Ordinarily, you wouldn't do that, but if you're out in the wilderness for a long period of time,
you got to cover it up.
Yeah.
And so she slid it back in, and then he was still kind of in shock when we saw him because it didn't even seem like he was hurt. And then when we left, I think things got bad. The shock kind of wore off, and he was in a lot of pain, and he was screaming in the night, and people were just sleeping in whatever sleeping bags they could find and stuff. So there's a whole nother story that I wasn't part of that's maybe worse and darker than ours.
Wow. So growing up in M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, did you guys get anything into embarrassing? Did you ever accidentally pee your pants in school when you were cross country snowboarding or whatever?
I wore red once, which is the color of the monster.
Oh yeah. No. Oh, that's so embarrassing. Oh my God. I bet they punished you for that.
Why don't I give you a middle school story first? Do you do that here?
Yeah,
yes, middle's very normal.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, set the scene. How old are you? What's going on in your life?
I'm 12 years old.
Nice. Great age.
I'm in I'm 13 because I'm in 8th grade.
Right.
And probably, let's see, in my life, maybe I just had my first French kiss at a party. Ooh. That would have been a spin the bottle situation. So it was forced French kiss. And not necessarily with person of your choosing, just we did it.
This happened.
It's over. Okay, that's a notch in the belt.
Yeah.
In case anyone asks.
Yeah.
And I was on the basketball team.
Nice.
Yeah. Which I grew up in a very small town, and there weren't enough kids necessarily to fill out a 7th grade team and an 8th grade team every single year.
Right.
So just bookmark that for a second. That'll come back into play later.
Okay.
I was in 8th grade, and my team was good. It was shockingly good. Given the how few kids were actually on the team, there was a dearth of talent on this team, and they went to state and everything. And I say they because I was allowed to play. Yeah, maybe 12 seconds of every game.
Right, when you're up 40.
Yeah, there's an expectation that every kid play, but also the coaches want to win. And so if there's a kid that they think could ruin the game in that amount of time, they're going to give you maybe the last 12 seconds of the game where you can't throw the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
You can't sabotage it.
Yeah, I was that player.
So, were you really?
Yeah, in my younger years. Yeah, they moved me up to varsity at on 8th grade, and then I was like, well, they have to let me play, and then I learned quickly they don't have to let me play. I could have invited all my friends to this basketball game to watch me sit on this bench.
Yes, so similar situation where all of our friends would come to the games, and the home games anyway. If it was an away game, that was honestly a relief to me because I didn't have to deal with that. But the home games, everybody I knew was there in the stands.
Yeah.
And then what they would do is they had a 7th grade team that didn't have enough guys. And so they would have me, an 8th grader, play on the 7th grade team.
Oh.
Now, the difference between a 7th grader and an 8th grader is vast. There's an ocean between those two. And everyone's hyper aware of it in the school too.
Right. Well, you're like tall, like 6 inches taller than everyone on the court.
No, but I was a late bloomer as well. So
okay.
at least maybe that's even. I'm gonna assume that's why they put me on the team and not talent.
because you could pass.
And so I would play on the 7th grade team, and everyone knew it. And so everyone would watch these games and they're like, well, hold on, what the fuck is Soren out there with the 7th graders? And then. There wasn't before our team went to state. You know, we were this undefeated team, the 8th graders, and there was a game where I got fouled in like the last 10 seconds of the game, so I had to go to the free throw line, and made it. And everyone,
thank God.
yeah, but like that, yeah, exactly. Everyone went nuts, and in fact, that was very embarrassing. That
right,
it
doesn't feel good. I've definitely
the next day when they're doing like this student announcements. While we're all sitting in class, and it's over the speaker.
Oh no!
They're like, and congratulations to the boys team who have now everybody's had a basket on the team after Soren's basket last night.
Oh.
So now it's not just the 8th graders; it's everybody 8th through 5th who's now just heard this announcement, and everyone in 5th and 6th grade now going, "Holy shit! I'm cooler than an 8th grader! Like this is great!"
I won.
And that was uniquely humiliating to play in front of all of my peers on a team that shouldn't have held a candle to my ability, and yet I was still suffering on that team as well.
There is truly like not everyone is good at reading a room, not everybody's good at kind of reading other people's feelings or intent, but I think universally everybody knows a pity clap or a pity cheer, and like getting those doled out in your life, because those never stop. Yeah. Like, there are some things talking about the show. It's like, well, after middle school, that gets better or whatever. No, like, you hear the, like, yeah, all right, way to go, Sarah. It's like, I fucking know. You're just saying this.
Right. They're like, good jobs. No.
It's like, okay, I did it once good, and now suddenly you're all proud of me. It's like,
I'll be honest. I watch people finish marathons, and it's dark out, and, like, people have stuck around to see the last person finishing, and they're all cheering for them, and the person looks like they're feeding off of it, and I'm just thinking in my head, no, you're not.
They're just like,
no, you're not.
They in their head, it's just everyone go the fuck home.
Yeah,
I would.
Please let me finish alone.
Yeah, 100%. Big if I ever ran even half a marathon, I'd be like in the latter half. I think I'd just be like, everyone go home. Stop. Stop it.
Stop it.
No. Stop. I sat down and had a whole Gatorade over there. I'm not running for fun anymore.
Limping to the finish line. And when I was
with a cigarette. Whatever.
When I was in 8th grade, it was my last year on the JV team, and on this JV team that was terrible, I was like the all-star of this team.
Yeah.
I have an MVP trophy. I was killing it. And so in the middle of that season, the varsity coach, who was a very intense guy and like moved people up to groom them early, which sounds weird now in retrospect. Early, I like saw that I was only going to be like a real all-star. I was an okay basketball player, but he only saw that I was going to be like a star of a team, or actually as good as it seemed like I was.
Yeah.
Only in 8th grade. And then that was going to pass. So he's very reluctant to move me up. And I was talking to him and he's like, you're going to do it. I promise. And then finally he does. He moves me up to varsity. And I was like, cool, I'm going to show him what I got. In first game, I'm like, everyone come. I'm going to like show up this varsity team. And I played 0 seconds of this game. And then when I finally did get in one game in 8th grade, I made a buzzer beater corner 3.
Ooh.
Which would have been a cool moment if we weren't up by 30 points. And everyone in the game treated it like I had won the game. The senior center, like scooped me up and held me up like Simba. And I was just like, put me down. Because I was like 5-0.
It's like when they let the kid with autism or like
it felt very
palsy,
Make-A-Wish.
Like run up the field while players are diving around him to tackle him, like, oh, he got away.
Yeah, I was held up and I was just like, why are you holding me? You know this is the worst moment of my life. People stopped showing up. My parents weren't even there. Just a miserable time.
That's rough.
Eventually I got better. Now I'm an all-star, so...
Yeah, no, I've heard.
Yeah, what team... you were just drafted, right?
I was just drafted.
Yeah.
to some WNBA team that I can definitely name.
There's the Sparks, and I think
Sparks?
that's all I can do.
I was gonna say
There was
but I think they're not.
there was a Miami Soul for a little while. I remember that because
They're still around.
there's no way of knowing. There's literally no way of knowing.
I actually did.
It's not on TV.
I know, right? I actually did go to a Comets game once, and I just I don't really remember because I'm not super into basketball like at all. I think maybe that's the only basketball game I've ever been to was the Comets game, and like everyone was like my section of seats was completely empty. It was pretty much like me, my sister, and mom. The tickets were a gift. I think we were like 3 rows away from courtside. Why we didn't just move down? I'll never know.
It's not. You don't want to.
I don't really. But we were on the Jumbotron twice.
Yeah.
In the same, which the first time it happened, I was like, oh my God, because I've never been. I still have never been outside of this. I was like, yes.
And as a young actor, you know?
Then and then the second time around, I was like, oh, I feel bad.
Surely there's someone else in need here.
Someone's got to be clapping their big inflatable things, right?
There used to be a time when I was growing up where Miami Heat games, and they probably had to feel like this, were so empty because the team was so bad for so long that you could yell. If you were in the stands, you could yell and the players would hear you. And that was like a known thing about the Heat games. They're like, yeah, you can talk to the players. You can like coach them. Like, and that was like a fun thing about going to Heat games is it was so empty. The players would hear you yell at them. And I was like, yeah, I know that feeling. That's what playing on a JV girls basketball team is like. So congrats on making it to the NBA.
I've done enough.
Yeah.
I've done a few improv shows where only 3 people showed up.
Yeah.
I've done some stand up at bowling alleys. It's not great. So you had another story.
Yeah, I do.
So let's really dive into it.
Okay. This one's way worse.
That's what I had a feeling you seemed reluctant about this one.
So in high school, let's see.
Dark. Already dark.
Yeah. And so in high school, I started to I at least bloomed a little bit more. I was more athletic and I was
thicker. Were you about to say thicker?
thicker. No. Okay. So I'll just go into it. So I would have been probably 16, and I had gone to a party, and at the party had started to feel not very good. In my stomach, and I was like, you know what, I need to shit.
No.
And I was like, where can I shit at this party? And so it was my friend's house, so I knew like, oh, I know his sister's room's got a bathroom, and so I went up there and shut the door and started to shit, and there's a tiny bathroom, and all of a sudden the door starts to open, and I shut it with my foot, and I'm like, no, someone's in here, and I hear a voice say, Soren, and it was another girl who was my age who. We'd kind of been like flirting all night.
All right.
And so I shut the door with my foot and I was like, no. Yeah, someone's in here. She's like, Soren? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, what are you doing in there?
What an insane
Yeah,
question.
Well,
So here's how it gets way worse than that. She said, what are you doing in there? And I went, and then she said, are you? And then I'm not going to tell you what she said yet because in my mind, there was couldn't be anything more humiliating than shitting. Like in high school, like the idea of being caught shitting by somebody that you like and that they know that you
it's
poop.
horrifying.
I was like,
they can't know.
Whatever she was going to say that wasn't shitting, I was like, yes. So she said, are you? And I immediately said yes. But what she had said, she said, Soren, are you whacking it?
Why would anybody say that?
Great question.
I like her.
And so I said, yes. And then I went, yes.
You doubled down.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm already in it. Maybe that one's not as bad.
Oh.
And so she goes, really? And I
Triple down.
I was like, yeah. And she goes,
no.
and she goes, because now it would be weird for me to change it. Because now there's 2 things.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
And so I said, yeah. And she goes, wow.
All right.
And then I'm like,
good reaction.
oh my God. Well, at least I have like this moment alone to like think about like how am I going to fix this? How am I going to solve this? And then I realized that she's still outside the door. Like I hear like her against the door. And she starts she starts making little noises.
No.
She starts helping.
No, I'm leaving. Bridget, take the rest of the show.
She starts trying to help. And so I'm just sitting on the toilet and I'm going, oh no.
Yeah,
oh, no.
that's.
While you're
no.
pooping.
Yeah. And so now I'm like, I'd have to like wipe really quietly. Like, I don't know what to do.
Well, how loudly do you wipe?
I don't know. It's a call cord door.
Yeah.
It's what we heard outside of it. And so I then start to do it too.
No.
To be like, well, yeah, this is what you would be doing.
No.
And because now this is
Now
something that
you're in
she's
it.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's something that she's into.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this is way less bad than pooping.
Yeah, I guess.
Clearly, it sounds
so-
like it's the beginning of a sexy time for her.
Yeah. And so she starts making like noises to, I assume, just to help and saying things like that's so hot and things like that. And then like whispering to me. And I'm just like freaking out in there. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then I finish up for real, but I also pretend to finish as well. And then I hope that she leaves, and I come out the door because I give her some time.
The whole party.
And she's sitting there like across the bedroom, and she's got this look on her face like, wow, I can't believe we just did that. And and then the odor of defecation I think hits her. And I just see this light go out in her eyes. Like whatever she thought was going on was now something bigger and darker than she had anticipated.
and less sexy.
Way less sexy. But she doesn't. And at the time, I think, oh, she knows. Like the truth is out. This is all done. She's gonna tell people. Like this is gonna be super embarrassing. What I didn't consider
know if she would tell people.
So she didn't. And I think it's because she was suddenly complicit in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And where her
100%.
side of the story would have to come out in the telling.
Yeah, there's no way she would tell people.
And so she didn't tell anyone, and I didn't tell anyone.
Of course not.
Until now.
Oh my God.
And so I kind of got away with it. But also I think back on it and I wonder if she thought maybe he does both at the same time.
I was just about to say, okay, because I feel like this girl and I probably crossed paths in another life. Because this sounds like something I would say to a friend, like as a joke, like, hey, you in there jacking up, right?
Yeah.
But maybe, like, she's a young woman, too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she just thinks E-Jack smells like shit.
She doesn't know
Like,
yet.
maybe she's like, maybe
Right.
she's probably never, like, experienced, cum.
That's true. Well, the rules of sexuality are just not they're not defined for you yet.
No.
So like when she stood outside the door, she's like, maybe this is what we do. Like maybe
Yeah.
I know something sexual's happening in there. She
Wait,
knows something sexual's happening in there.
Could not have
maybe
misread
I
the
can,
situation
Yeah, maybe I
more.
can help. Like this is kind of interesting.
So
I guess I'm curious about this. Let's try this. And then it was clear that like it did not go the way that she thought it did.
Yeah.
And we just didn't ever talk about it. We didn't talk about it. I never brought it up again. And
Yeah,
no
you
one
can't.
else ever even like joked about it. No one else knew. I don't think. Maybe to this day, I'm sure she's told some people. Now I'm telling everyone. But
Did you, like, what was your relationship like after? Did you just
Were
never make
you
eye
guys just like,
contact
hey,
again?
let's go back to the party.
yeah, I would equate it as like if you'd been in a relationship and you cheated with somebody else, how you would react around that person the rest of your life. Where you're like,
Right.
okay, let's get out of the situation as quickly as possible.
Just no eye contact forever.
Wow.
Oh, that
Oh, that took a
Girl.
lot out of me.
that's a lot. That girl, she just didn't know what she was doing. And
I know,
I
God
feel like
bless
she's
her, though.
confused. You confused her
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's your fault.
No, it is.
I mean, you could have not lied. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You could have said peeing.
when you. I didn't even think about that till now.
You could have just said,
The bathroom is more for just J&O and taking a dump.
what an insane two worlds you were stuck between.
The binary of a bathroom, you're either in there. Oh, man.
Oh my god. Yeah. So when I started listening to your podcast, I was like, I wonder if I am in a bit. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Those are always the
I
things.
have the worst story in the world.
Yeah.
I could tell them.
Yeah, no, those are always the things that you just like, that are my favorite of like, yeah, I blocked that out. Oh, no,
Yeah.
I did it.
There it is. There it is. Oh,
There it is again.
Oh,
Yeah.
the look in her eye. Oh, no.
No, the shame.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got, through the shame part earlier. I feel like then, everything after that was a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it wasn't lie based. I would hope, and
Yeah.
assuming, because
God.
like those first couple experiences are haunting
Yeah.
all around.
It really was. I remember the first time that I didn't have sex, but like the first time I really hooked up with a girl, and afterwards I just wanted to go home.
Yeah,
I was too young for it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I like this. I don't think this is for me.
Yeah, I remember there was like a deep sense of shame, and it like I thought I like was mentally broken. I thought like I fully thought like I'm not gonna get over this. I'm like this, and every time. This is sad. This is a sad one, but I remember every time I looked in the mirror at myself, I'd just be like, Bridgett, you're different now. And like,
Yeah.
and like I would out loud just be like, Bridgett,
You're different.
yeah, and like not be like I just wasn't
You're
able
unclean.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I specifically remember there were two instances that made me feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I really explored vagina and also watched Faces of Death. Like both those experiences. Afterwards, I sat at a bus stop just being like, I want to go home and see my parents.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go home.
I want to be who I was.
Yeah.
It's I don't. There's something really deeply wrong, I feel like, with the human condition that afterwards we're like, let's go back for more, because that wasn't humiliating and awkward enough for me.
Yeah.
I've heard enough good things. I'm clearly wrong. Because I think I've talked about it on those podcasts before. The first couple times I've like made out with someone, I was like, maybe I'm a person who doesn't like kissing, because kissing is so bad. Those first couple times you're like, I don't want to do that again.
I feel like that's true of like most things that are adult, which is crazy that basically anything that is like considered adult, you kind of like just beat yourself into submission over. Like the first time I smoked weed, I remember being like, guys, what's the big, like the first handful of times I tried weed, I kept being like, all right, guys, this like kind of fucking blows. Like, I don't think I'm like gonna be smoking pot anytime soon. Sorry, I'm not cool, but I'm really like not. And then like just over time, and like I was like, I think I have like a white trash gene in me, so like I've always enjoyed the taste of beer, but I know that's another one that like the first few times you drink beer for a lot of people, it's like, ugh, God, but now it's like, yeah, might as well, like it's the easiest thing in the world to drink sometimes.
I am so neurotic that I remember the first time I was at a party and I was like, know what? You're going to do it. You're going to drink at this party like everyone else. And I had a beer, and then I was like 15 or 16. So my parents came to pick me up from this party, and I had one beer, maybe a half of it. It was a Coors Light. It was terrible. And I just remember walking back home with my parents and just being like, you want another beer, Bridgett? This is a dark path for you. It's all over for you. You had one sip of beer, and now you're never going back. You're off the rails.
Was it worth it, Bridgett?
You ruined your life. And even the first time I smoked weed, I went to SAT prep after, and I feel like the first time you smoke weed, you don't really know
get
how.
high, yeah.
You don't get high, but the entire time at SAT prep, I was just looking at my teacher like, you're high. He knows you're high. Everyone here knows you're high. And I was not high. I was super sober.
You talked yourself into it?
Yeah, I just like freaked myself out.
That's wonderful.
I feel like, all adult experiences you have with your kid are too early.
You force yourself into it at an early age. Everything that's adult is an acquired taste, and like you just have to keep doing it, but you know that it's crucially to your existence. It's crucial to your existence, and so you just keep doing it and doing it. I mean, I watched Kids way too early, and I thought, like, after seeing that movie Alone at Home, I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to learn to like this. Like, this is what sex is. I have to learn to like this. And I mean, you couldn't be more wrong. That's not what sex is. Yeah. But at the time, that was my first foray into it, and I was like, I have to get used to this. I'm disgusted and I feel awful right now. But okay, this is life. This is what you got to get used to.
Or maybe just the three of us are like really fucking square, because I'm just I'm hearing ourselves and I'm picturing someone listening to this movie like, you guys sucked.
I think
like
everybody's first sexual experiences, even if it's
true.
just seeing
I
sex
hope
for the
so.
first time.
For
I
my
think it's the
sake,
same
I
for
really hope
everybody.
everybody is like, the first time I did X, Y, and Z, I was scared, or it like bothered me like in some way because you think of yourself as such a good kid, and now you're doing something that's like bad and.
No, the loss
maybe
of
we're soft.
innocence is visceral. It's more visceral than we're.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when that happened in your school of like 30 people, because I went to a small school.
Yeah.
And like everyone knew everyone's business. So did it like go around that something happened, or
No.
like was everything normal?
No, this never
happened.
Wow.
Right. This was wiped from the history books.
And from your ass, clearly.
This was so the party that we went to was a friend who went to the public high school, and I went to the private high school. The girl also went to my high school though.
Okay.
But it was there was a wider net there at least.
Right.
But
Okay.
it just disappeared.
Were you guys like friends after?
Not really.
Yeah, you can't be.
No,
Not after
we
that.
didn't really talk much.
Yeah.
I mean, we hung out with groups, but there would never be a time when the two of us were alone.
Yeah.
No.
No matter how hard I tried.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to be alone with that person
No.
again.
Like,
because
hey,
last time it went
I
so
wanted
poorly.
her to stop existing.
Yeah.
I was like, if only she would
Now
move.
like in school, like, hey, I'm gonna number 2 if you wanna join me in the stall.
She'd use such a coarse word for it in the first place. It was all so startling at the moment.
Yeah.
In the moment that I was like, couldn't think of anything else. It's just
And
like,
also,
Wow.
having to poop at a party is a terrible experience.
oh yeah,
In general, you never.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to, because your first instinct is, you can hold it. You can do this.
Definitely.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
do this. And then you get to a point where you're like, I can't do it.
I know, yeah.
I have to figure something else out here.
I'm not kidding. The cumulative miles I have traveled now to poop elsewhere in situations where it's like, I really do not want to go right here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. At least 100 at this point.
Yeah.
Just like find an excuse like, oh, I'm just going to make a run, get whatever. I have pooped in a lot of grocery stores. I've pooped in a lot of gas stations,
Yeah.
a lot of restaurants where I've like courtesy bought like a Coke to go. And I'm like, hey, in your bathroom, can I just like jump in there real quick? It's like not around people that I know and who will look me in the eyes after I've done this horrible thing.
Right.
But not me, because I'm a woman and we don't do that.
I've been in gas stations before that are, stuff is carved into the toilet seat. There's like shit on the walls and stuff. And just sitting there being like, oh, thank God for this haven.
Yeah.
I love it here. This is my fortress.
This is amazing.
Nothing I do here will ever leave.
So I went to a performing arts school. So like when I say 180 opposite of your school.
Yeah, all of our
180
plays were in a
opposite.
barn.
Yeah,
But
180 opposite 180. But we did have this one privilege. If you were like stage managing a show, you worked in the production office to like help out with whatever. You could get the key to the costume shop and the changing rooms in our backstage area, which we lovingly refer to as the executive bathroom, because you would just have the entire dressing room to yourself and that toilet.
Yeah.
So like in school, it was like, all right, cool,
Wow.
time to have a space all to me, or hook up. But I was more in there to poop than anything else.
One and the same, as we've learned.
Very true.
Yeah. I just thought of this moment in my life that is the complete opposite of your story that I completely forgot.
So you were jerking off, and
that was a bad way to preface it. But I forgot. I was probably like 22 or something, and I had like gone over this guy I like's house, and like we finally got together. We knew why we were there. But on the way, I was like, I don't feel so good. And I was like, you can get through this. And I, within 20 minutes, went into his apartment. We were like talking and flirting. And then I was like, you know what? I got to go. and just left. And he was like, oh, really? Why? I was like, I forgot. I have a paper to write. I was in college. I was just like, I got to go. And left within 20 minutes to poop.
Wow.
He's still wondering what he did wrong. He's like, oh.
yeah, no, I was thinking he probably thought he blew it somewhere along the line.
Oh, for sure, because I like could not get this guy to hang out with me again.
Yeah.
He was like, no, that was embarraing.
Yeah,
That
that was a blow to his ego for sure.
Yeah, no, and I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I left within 20 minutes of like making a plan.
Oh yeah.
like in your because it was small, I'm just trying to get.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there a lot, like, were people in other people's businesses all the time? Or were you
Yeah.
guys all chill wilderness people?
No, because we were all horny teens. So, like, we were
Right.
very much in each other's business.
Yeah,
To
because
the
I
point
feel like
where
the pool is small there.
Yeah.
So that is a problem.
I had so there was a guy I knew. I don't want to out anyone in these stories. I'm
You
trying
don't- yeah.
very hard not to say anybody's names. But
Yeah,
there was a guy I knew
sure.
who, well, we had a mutual friend and his girlfriend. They'd been together for a long time. He would have parties at his house a lot. My other friend was in a photography class and had access to a camera, and at one point knew that they were having sex in a room, opened the door and took a picture, and then developed it at school.
What?
And then showed it to some people, and everyone was like, I think that's bad. I think we don't do that. I think that's bad. And she approached him in tears and like, and slapped him and was very upset. And everyone was like, oh yeah, no, that's a bad thing. Like that's like, and at the time when we first saw it, we were just like, oh, look at this thing you did. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But we didn't know why.
You don't
Good
know it,
for
but
you
you're
guys.
looking
Don't know
at
the
child
rules.
pornography,
Right.
which was developed out of school, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. I feel like we had that scandal at my school and no one reacted that way. Well, because also this was when camera phones were just coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So teens immediately realized the power that has. So it was like the first time we had people in schools had to deal with nudes being sent around.
Yeah.
And at a private school of like, I think there were like 100 people per grade max at the very most. You knew their parents and you had grown up with them and like went to mommy and me, and then you were just like sent this like dick pic or naked picture of someone and you're like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I'm going to dinner with their family over the weekend.
I think I told this story in like another episode, but we had like oh my God, I don't take nudes for shit. Like absolutely no way. I remember very young, out of nowhere, I think my mom was like, Sarah, if I could just give you a piece of like advice, don't ever take a photo of yourself naked because it will come back for you.
Yeah.
I think I was like 10 at the time. I was like, okay, you've said it once and you never need to say it again. Definitely. Because at 10, I'm like, of course I would never, ever, ever. I can't think of a reason why I would do that. But in high school, this guy sent like a nude photo to this other guy and it went, and they were both out. So like that scandal wasn't even, that wasn't scandal. The scandal was, it was like a classmate of ours, like totally naked. And it went around and then it got up somehow to like, cause it was, again, small school. I think we had like 120 people in our graduating class. It got up to the administration. And so like the administration had to like send out like this little flyer that was like, hey, taking a naked photo of yourself as a teenager is child pornography.
Yeah, we had
and having that on your phone is child pornography. And sending it to a teacher as a joke is child pornography. So stop doing it. And like, I think it eventually got back to the guy. I mean, it must have gotten back to the guy in like a day or less. I was like, hey, by the way, your nude photo is going around. And he had the craziest reaction because he was like, okay, and? He was like, I'm proud of my body.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, he fucking
Oh.
was like, whatever.
Way
You've
to
all
get
seen my
ahead of
dick.
it.
You know what? I shit too. What do you think of that?
But to his
Take a picture of my poop, send it
to his
around.
point though, it's a performing arts school, and like I was just talking about the dressing rooms, like I saw a lot of people's peepees and their veenies and their
And the
the
changing
boobies. Yeah, so you know, like that was kind of like the first like naked man we'd all seen, but like by senior year, it was like, listen, we've
You seen
whatever.
one dick, you seen them all.
Right, we do fast changes backstage and full leotards sometimes, so it's like, look, y'all are gonna see some shit.
I did. I won't tell you another quick story that's reminding me of. Is that okay? Do we have time for it?
Of course.
I did a sketch for Cracked, maybe a few years ago where I was a stripper in it, and so I was wearing little American flag underwear, like briefs, and there's 3 women. It's supposed to be like these women are having just sort of like this low key bachelorette party, and I show up and I start, you know, there's music and stuff, and I'm dancing, and at one point I'm supposed to be rocking against. She's sitting in a chair in a couch, and I'm rocking against the couch and like forcing it against the wall, so it's making the coffee table rattle, which has a picture of her husband on it, or soon to be husband or fiance. And as I'm doing it, they're all in the back of the shot, so that you know they're all in frame too. And all of a sudden, I see one of them. Her eyes shut like she's looked into the sun by accident, and turn away. and I realized something's wrong. And we've been shooting all day, so this underwear has lost some of its elasticity, and a testicle had just sort of fallen out of these as I was doing this, and I immediately put it back in, and I was like, okay, like we're just gonna move past this, right? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And I was like, okay, great. And I realized like if that had happened to me at any formative age, it would have ruined me.
Over.
But once you have like a strong foundation of who you are, you can deal with situations like that and bounce back. It's not great in the moment, but you can bounce back.
Yeah, you can pop balls left and right.
Plus, she's seen testicles.
That's true.
You know?
But not my these are mine. These are precious.
those are special. Soren, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
thank
having
you.
me.
It's been a delight. Tell everyone what you're up to and where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Soren, SOREN_LTD. And I'm also doing a podcast with Dan O'Brien, who also used to work at Cracked with us. A podcast called Quick Question with Soren and Daniel.
Yeah.
Which we realized the other day was Quick Question with, and then the acronym SAD.
Oh, yeah, you should have gone Daniel and Soren. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's very fun to listen to.
Thank you.
Tuning in and like replying to you guys in my car because I was like,
oh,
right, we're back at the office. No, I sound like a crazy person. Yeah, and you can find this podcast at Rough Stuff Pod on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Bridgett Tweets. And Sarah, what's going on with you?
Yeah, you can also email this podcast at roughstuffpod@gmail.com. I don't know. Send your embarrassing stories. Send in a question. Send in a nude. Don't send in a nude.
Please
God, please. I was kidding.
Why?
I was kidding. Please don't do that. But I'm on Twitter at sk_Griffith. And my web series, which Bridgett works on as well, produces, is Nulo. And watch that.
And check out the Small Beans Patreon if you're not already a member. Join it. Thanks.
bye.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!